As a former state prosecutor from the DA's office in New York, I've tried several cases in that very courtroom. I can tell you jury selection is going to be arduous. It's going to be tough because you got to get it right. Both sides want to get it right. The judge wants to get it right because remember, Donald Trump has appellate rights, and this case is going to be all about the appeal record on top of being able to prove the prosecution proving their case beyond a reasonable doubt. The questions are clear. They do not ask whether you voted for Donald Trump or whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, but they do get around the edges of all of that to try to determine whether any juror is going to have a prejudice for or against Donald Trump. Remember, there are 10 peremptory challenges for each side. That means there are 10 challenges that you don't have to explain why. You just don't want to select those individuals. Each side has 10. And then the issue is whether you're prejudiced or not. All of us come to court with prejudices based on how we were raised, what we believe. But in the end, can you put whatever you believe about this case or Donald Trump or the government to the side and listen to the evidence and be a fair and impartial juror? There'll be a lot of questions to get to those conclusions by the judge and both sides in this case. But the question is, can you put that aside and listen to the evidence and be a fair and impartial juror? And that's where the probing of both sides are going to come in, as well as the judge in this case, because I got to tell you, I've served on juries before. I've had defined opinions about plaintiffs' lawyers or plaintiffs' cases. But if I can put that as an officer of the court, can I put that aside? And the question is, yes, I've had to, and I've served on 2 juries in the past. That's a tough question for non-lawyers, though. Can I put it to the side? If I'm a lawyer, I want to cross-examine or question that juror myself. I don't want the judge to reach a determination and be the only one questioning that jury. And so that's what's going to take 2 weeks. The three active persons, the defense, the prosecution, and the judge, asking these questions to confirm or establish that they believe whether this individual can put their positions or their prejudice to the side to be a fair and impartial juror and render a verdict beyond a reasonable doubt, or maybe not, based on the evidence in this case. It's a tough proposition. You're right about that.
Indeed. All right. Former President Trump has been very vocal ahead of this trial, taking to Truth Social, saying this is the radical left Democrats cheating in the election, forcing him to sit in a courthouse instead of being out on the campaign trail. And then he asked the question, why didn't they bring this trial 7 years ago? Is that a fair question to be asking?
It may be a fair question, but the answer is going to be the same. The criminal justice system isn't on a time frame or timeline. And here's the deal. Defendants drive the narrative and who gets prosecuted and who doesn't. That is, if you drive a negative narrative and you engage in conduct that could be perceived or is criminal in nature, it is up to the government prosecutors. In this case, state prosecutors, not federal prosecutors, not the White House. And so this narrative that somehow this is politically driven, well, I got to tell you, it took a long time because they want to get it right. There's a lot of evidence. People have been prosecuted for this case, but like Michael Cohen, but the feds and the state are different prosecutorial offices, one. Two, the base of every prosecutor is discretion. Some may have the discretion to say, I'm not going to prosecute this. Others may say, I think there's enough there and I'm going to prosecute this. But politics should play no role in it. Does it? Maybe, maybe not. But in the end, the government's got to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Look for corroboration of Michael Cohen's testimony because he's a convicted liar. He's right. Trump is right about that. But do you have corroboration? And then lastly, this is a paper case, right? The star witnesses are going to be the accountants and those who plugged this information in, one that made it a felony. But then secondly, Hope Hicks and Donald Trump's secretary, what they heard after the fact. What was Donald Trump thinking? What did he say to them? That's going to make the government's case or break the government's case.